Before I start my video, guys, I want to give another big shout out to another member who has hit 12 months of subscription to the members section here on my YouTube. If you click the join button down below, you will see what it's about. Mr. C, tier 1 member for 12 months. Thank you very much for the long-term support. Enjoy the pink badge, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for everyone who has kept up their support for this much time. It is incredible. I am going to be shouting out everybody wants to hit 12 months because for me, that is some long-term support. Much love. Thank you so much. On to the video, guys. Hello, survivors, and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the next promo character, which is a very familiar character to a lot of people. It is a Telltale Edition character, and it is, of course, Lee. He is from Season 1, a lot of people's favourite character. We have had quite a few Lees in the game, and I had said this before about Telltale characters. It's surprising the sort of impact some of these characters had, where sometimes they only had like a couple of episodes over the entire, series of the game. And Lee had 5, and I think this is like his 6th or 7th character. Pretty impressive. It is going to be his first character in the S-Class era, of course. And as we look at him on the right-hand side, he does look kind of medieval. He's going to go medieval on your ass, basically. And he's got that mace in his hand, and he is looking brutal. I'm going to be honest, as much as I don't think it sort of plays into the appearance that Lee generally has, he looks pretty cool. And I could imagine when this originally happened, when the apocalypse originally happened, Lee didn't last super long time. It was, I think it was only like 6 months at best, right? It wasn't some huge amount of time. But if he was, his years down the line, he's going to be geared up. He's going to be tooled up to the brim, and it's going to be a lot of melee weapons because, that's just going to be the accessible thing. And obviously, he's raided a museum at some point because, you got to have that mace, and he looks pretty good. On the left-hand side, you can see his just avatar. It's a slightly different avatar than we've seen from Lee in the past, but he looks pretty cool there as well. And if we look at him at full maxed out vet rings, he has got 3,278 attack, 3,641 defense, but 5,376 HP. He is considered a tank character, and obviously being a melee character, he's going to be fast in this situation. And he is potentially very, very tanky with that sort of HP. Now first we'll check out his adrenaline rush, and it is called Say It To Me. It's a 66 AP cost rush, which is always quite fast on a fast character just because you can have 8% weapons in teams they're going to be in a lot of the time. So you can get this off quite quickly, sometimes even turn 1 if you've got command and the right type of weapon setup. Now this character will taunt an enemy for 3 turns, one enemy. All other enemies get 75% attack down for 2 turns. This is extremely powerful, obviously, especially like I said, if you can get this off first turn, you're generally going to get off before the enemy rushes, and minus 75% attack is pretty brutal. This character gains 100% of their max HP, so for whatever reason, if they're low HP, they're going to be full HP. And as his base HP is already quite high, you're going to put the multipliers in there, you're going to put, some mods in there, no doubt. That HP is going to be a lot. You're looking at over 10,000 HP and an instant gain on that, and there's no sort of counter to that except heal reduction. He can't it's not like AP gain where he could take damage because of this. There's no negative potential here. There is obviously the potential that you could have heal reduction on him though, and that would probably be a good idea to counter this. But otherwise, this is quite a straightforward rush. You're just basically taunting one person into him. Everyone else gets negative attack stat, very, very negative attack stat. You're not doing any damage after this. Even with 2 or 3 prayers with rampage weapons full, decked out, they're not doing any damage. But we'll check this out and how it would be in a raid situation. Okay, so we are on the rush turn for Lee. As you can see, he has got his rush. He's ready. I'm going to do a little bit more damage to him just to get the damage off. And he'll get his rush off. He's going to do the 100% heal, so he's full HP. He will taunt one character, like I showed, for 3 turns. It's the top prayer. Everyone else has minus 75% attack. It's pretty simple. And that means that if I do certain rushes, you're not looking at super damage. This is trait damage. And it is pretty bad. We're going to finally get through it. That was pretty bad. Pretty bad indeed. So, not the greatest in terms of the amount of damage you're going to do. It does look like, of course, characters can get past it. As you see, when I rush with certain characters like Beta, they have got cleanses on their, part of their kit, so they can remove it, but you are wasting their rush and effectively their damage by removing it. So it is going to be quite a hard one to deal with. You're going to have other characters that can obviously cleanse this, team-wide supporter characters, if you want to get past this. Otherwise, you're doing no damage. So potentially a very annoying rush. Doesn't look too powerful on the face of it, but it will be very dangerous against the percentage damage teams. And I do think that a lot of people take in percentage damage teams against the likes of Jackie teams. And this guy can be used on a Jackie team, of course. Now, while he is considered a tank, I see this rush as being more like support, and you're basically like supporting your teammates by making them take less damage, and that's basically how it's going to work. People aren't necessarily going to focus on Lee. They're going to focus on your other characters in, you know, the team around him that could potentially be more dangerous, the likes of Trader and stuff like this. Whereas Trader now is going to take minus 75% attack than he usually would on a Jackie team. That is great, because one of the few things that Trader finds hard to deal with is pure damage. Now, he has got very unbalanced stats, but he can get absolutely just focused and destroyed by multiple rushes. This is not going to be the case if Lee gets his rush off. Now, this is not all that Lee brings to the table. He does have an active skill, of course, and we'll check it out. It is Focus, Normalize Resistance, and AP Gain. It has an initial cooldown of 1, so you can use this first turn on a defense team. Cooldown of 2, this means it's going to be going off very regularly. Number of uses, 5. This character and up to 2 teammates get focus and 100% normalized resistance for 3 turns. This character gains 50% AP. So this is going to be the first character to bring any sort of normalized resistance into the game. And it is going to be on an active skill. 3 characters, including Lee himself, who is a specialist, getting normalized resist. If this goes to the right characters, of course, brutal. This goes to Mr. Lou or Mr. Lee, however you want to pronounce it. If this goes to the recently released Morgan or any dangerous specialist where like they can actually cause damage on their specialist skill, brutal. Again, if it goes to Trader, one of the few things where you can actually get through with Trader, because the most resistance he can have is 50% to normalize. He'll now have full immunity. He can now have 100% resist. You're not going to be able to remove that specialist skill to make it easier to take him down or control him. Very, very dangerous. And like I said, it is to 2 other teammates. So if you had like 2 specialists in there, you're generally going to hit one of those guys who's dangerous. And the fact that he can work on teams, like I said, with Morgan, with Mr. Lee, be it with Jackie leaders, be it with Aaron leaders, the potential combos that Lee can bring is actually pretty nice. The 50% AP on top is a big bonus. This means that he's not going to lose a turn. However, it would be quite a harsh reduction in the amount of AP he would gain compared to a basic attack with 66 AP. So if you wanted him to do a first turn rush, which I can definitely see some people wanting him to do, you would have to actually maybe not upgrade this as high to basically make sure that he did a basic attack the first turn rather than his active, if you wanted him to do that first turn command rush. Okay, so checking this out against just a fully fledged team with 4 specialists on it, it's generally always going to land on a specialist. It could land on Lao Po, I'm fairly certain. This is right at the beginning of the raid. This is my first turn, so what I'd normally do is I'd normally boost up my AP on a window, so that would obviously be someone like Rick. I would just get some free AP. We're going to do quite a bit of damage. Going to get the blast damage off. Active's going to pop off. And we're seeing 100% resist on quite a few of these characters, as you can see. And the first turn command rush actually just comes in. That is actually incredible. Actually, I didn't expect that. I guess that was because of the rampage damage on top. That must have been because of the rampage. Look at all the minus the attack. This is brutal. This is brutal. Now, if I select the 2 characters that definitely got, well, these 3 characters got the immunity. You can see it pops up with 100% and the normalized crossed out. I have brought 2 princesses with me. One of them got taunted. But if I try to normalize, it should pop up and say immunity. Here we go. Immune, immune, immune. And I did normalize 1. Did I normalize 1? I think I got Mr. Yeah, top right. So he did not get the immunity. So he is no longer a payback character in this situation. And this means I could potentially rush him. But of course, because I got the minus attack, it's not going to be that great. It is still going to be reasonable because Bria is very strong. But it is not going to be fantastic. That minus attack, you know what a normal rampage attack looks like. And this is looking at like a turn 3. And this is where the commands will just start going off. Characters will start popping. The bleed will start going off. Yeah. not very nice at all. So obviously this active skill is very good at protecting some of your key characters, specialists. 100% normalized resist is very powerful. The fact that it comes in turn 1, which obviously is going to be a turn before the likes of Princess, AJ, and Brutus are going to be able to get in that normalize. Very powerful active skill indeed. Now he did gain that 50% AP, but I think he got the first turn command rush because he did gain a little bit of AP from some rampage attacks. So he's not necessarily going to be able to do that if he doesn't take damage. 50% AP would only be 33. You could have some 8% weapons in there. I think he's just going to fall a little bit short. Unless you wanted to give him a 20% weapon to self, which, I mean, could be good. You saw the sort of damage I was not doing once I got off that rush. And it is worth noting as well in that attack that Lee does not have any full upgrades at all. He's just basic Lee, just no mods, no weapon upgrades. It is just Lee. So he was taking quite a bit of damage in those hits. That was about half the HP that he would normally have, and definitely around half the defense as well. So defensively, he's only going to get more powerful, but you saw the sort of rush active combo that he could bring to the table there. And to me, that looked pretty dangerous. And then if we go across to his specialist skill, he's going to have further reduced damage on top of the fact that he's going to be very, very tanky. He's got the specialist skill, a dual specialist skill, Dexterity. This is the same as Kapoor. And honestly, I think Kapoor is one of the worst characters in the game, but the thing that is very annoying about him is this specialist skill, especially if you don't have anyone to deal with him, especially if you do not normalize him, because you're not going to be able to one-shot this character. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to one-shot Lee so much because he is a fast character. There aren't so many accessible, heavy-hitting, strong characters right now compared to, let's say, Priya versus Kapoor. But this specialist skill is the combination of two. And if this specialist takes damage, the amount taken is reduced based on their current AP. The more AP the specialist has, the less damage they take. If this character's health is above 20% and they take damage that would take them down, their health will be reduced to 19% instead. So here I am in a situation where I can get Michonne, who is one of the few very heavy hitting, especially single target rush character who is strong. Generally speaking, she should one-shot this guy. Even if he is really tanked out, Michonne is a monster. But no matter what, she can't do it unless he is normalized. And if he does obviously get that active skill off, that's not going to be the case. But we'll come in and just do the rush just to show you how it works. She will do a lot of damage, but then she'll get blockaded by that 20% and he'll just be sitting there at the 19% HP, of course. Now, I can come in afterwards and try and do extra damage on top. But other than that, there is no way through this unless you normalize the character. Now, it is worth noting the part where he takes reduced damage based on their current AP isn't that amazing versus rushes, but it is very effective against basic attacks. Because what happens here is, if you get his defense high enough, you can make it so that he reduces damage to 0. And if someone does 0 damage against this specialist skill, they will of course gain 0 AP. This generally is very difficult to do against S-class characters because their attack stat is so high. But if you get the minus 75% attack on them and obviously get his defense high enough and some other bonuses in the mix, potentially that could actually happen. But it's very, very unlikely. It's more actually going to combat 6-star characters. If people still use 6-star characters against this dude and try and gain some AP, he's potentially going to reduce that damage to 0. This was the same issue that the original character, I think, in the 6-star era, who was Negan, brought to the table, where this is the part of the rush he had, which is, of course, evasion. And 5-star characters were just hitting him for 0 constantly, which means no AP gain, which means no rushes, which means very, very slow takedowns in those situations. So overall, Lee can be quite an annoying character. I don't think he's a focus on a defense team, which makes him even more dangerous. It means he's going to be popping off, and that rush is very quick. Now, he has got an attached weapon, so that if you do focus him, he will be doing a lot of reflect damage. It is Lee's defensive flail. 30% defense, a medium bonus to AP when taking damage is obviously the upgrade slot, and reflect damage when being attacked, a great chance to deal 300% of the damage to the enemy. Now, a great chance is generally seen as around 50% chance. I do wish they would start using percentage chance to deal this and percentage chance to do that, because it would just be a bit more straightforward and I wouldn't have to say this every time. But 300% reflect is extremely powerful. I think you did see in there one of the princess attacks did get reflected, and she got a massive reflect just off of a taunted attack. Because he taunts someone into this weapon, they're not getting the attack down from that taunt on the rush. they're going to be doing flat damage. Now, you could potentially try and boost this damage that they do by not increasing his defense too much, but really bringing up his HP. That could be a nice little way of doing it. He will still take the same amount of damage when his HP is really high, but he'll be able to take more of it, and the reflect damage back will obviously be higher because he's not reducing the damage because of his defense. That could be a little way you do it, but you could also just change this weapon out completely. You could go for an absolute defense weapon. You could go for that 20% weapon that I talked about if you had an idea of how to get his rush off first turn, which would be very, very powerful. Even if you are taunting a character into a 20% weapon, they're taunted for 3 turns. So potentially not going to rush or do their active skill for the first 3 or 4 turns on their attack. Okay, so we're going to do one more attack just to give you an idea of the sort of reflect damage you can get from this. There are certain characters that will be able to actually combat this. Negan would be one. If the reflect did happen, his absolute defense would stop it from happening. That's one of the very few characters in the game that actually would combat it. But you've got characters, there we go, just a basic attack. A third of her HP gone, just a basic attack. Now, if she rushed, Priya Rush would obviously do enhanced basic attacks. She would take herself out, without a doubt. More reflect. Look at that. That was insane. A lot of damage there. More damage. And in the meantime, gaining AP. Gaining AP. More reflect damage back. And look at how much HP my characters just took. Like, my overall team HP probably went down by about 15 to 20%. And they didn't even have a turn. So the potential of that reflect is extremely powerful. And obviously can get taken out. We got away with that one. Oh, it's because of the minus 75% attack. So it's kind of strange in that situation. Like, he will obviously still do massive amounts of reflect based on the damage you do, but your damage will be massively reduced. So it's a weird one. If he's got this buff up, they're not doing any damage. If he hasn't got this buff up, or the debuff, sorry, on the enemy, he's going to be reflecting a lot of damage if you focus him. So I don't know. I think that's actually a pretty nice little thing. Like, it sort of reminds me of Charlie, where, like, if he's got this certain amount of HP, he's doing this, and if he's got this certain amount of HP, he's doing that. The same sort of thing is now applying to Lee, whether his rush is up or not. So I think Lee is nice, but I don't think he's a great standalone character. He's not a character that you can just get and he's going to make your entire defense team better, unless your defense team is already good. Like, I think this character is generally going to be targeting people who have already got a lot of powerful characters, which a lot of you will probably think, hey, that's what they're going to do generally. I think a lot of the time they do try and make these characters that are very, very powerful by themselves. For instance, the Trader is a one-man army. Anyone could pull for the Trader, anyone could get the Trader, and he would instantly make your team better, no matter what team you put him in, even if he wasn't getting leader bonus. It's not going to be the same case for Lee, because if he's surrounded by trash characters, honestly, he's going to make them trash characters maybe like 5% better. Whereas if he's surrounded by the Tanyas, the Traders, you know, the Mr. Lees, these characters are going to be massively boosted because they're now got potential to get 100% normalize resist. They've now got the potential to not take as much damage, and they've got the potential to get off their rushes, get off their actives on a more regular basis, and that's where the problems will massively get in. A lot of these teams, the first 2 or 3 turns can make the difference in actually being able to take them down. If Lee starts popping off early and you can, like I said, get that rush off first turn, that's going to be a massive problem. And you see a lot of people defend people in war. And what you don't realize is a lot of people will just flee after the first 2 or 3 turns if they don't feel they're getting it really quickly, because they don't want to slow down their attack speed. And this is a character that's going to do that to people. That's going to be like, damn, I'm not winning this raid because he just popped off. I'm not winning it for life for like 5 turns. We just got to flee. And that's what this character is going to be like. So he may win you raids by himself effectively because he rushes and stuff, but it's going to be based on the other characters that he is effectively protecting. But of course it's Lee, so you've got to just say Lee's the best. Lee's amazing. I'm going to be doing a temple for this character for sure, because he is a Telltale character. These are the rules that I kind of set for myself, and hopefully we get him. I wouldn't actually mind this character too much. I think he'd work quite well in a number of teams. For me, I have got a couple of decent specialists. I haven't got the the top level specialists, but for me, I'd be happy with getting him for sure. But do tell what you think about Lee Everett. Are you happy with how he has come into the game? Quite a different character. He is a tank. We don't see this too often. I've talked about this quite a bit. He is a tank, but he is definitely geared towards mainly a defense team by the looks of things. I don't see how his usage could be kind of leveraged on an attack team unless you took him in against strong characters and hope for the reflect damage. But that will cause AP gain. It is very worth noting. It will cause AP gain. But yeah, do leave your comments down below. Thank you very much for tuning into my video. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.